believe in God.
Every description of God that I've heard holds God to be all-powerful, very typical, and all good. And I see earthquakes and tornadoes and disease, childhood leukemia, and I see all of this and I say, I do not see evidence of both of those being true simultaneously. If there is a God, the God is either not all-powerful or not all good.
Yeah, by now you've realised that Neil deGrasse Tyson kicks off our podcast, pretty much summing up, where I'm at. I don't know what that was. And one of the driving forces for starting this podcast is what he said just there. It was inspirational from me. Still looking for proof that there is, in fact, a God. We've delved into many issues surrounding God, spirits, and belief over the last 26 episodes. And I must confess, I don't feel closer to finding the elusive God. But that's okay. It's both challenging and fun looking. G'day and welcome. I'm your host, Peter Rowe, presenting episode 27 of this live podcast, An Atheist, a Believer, and a Pastor Walk into a Bar. Great to have your company on this third day of July 2024, just gone 8 o'clock Australian Western Standing Time. We are running late as usual, broadcasting from Perth because it's chilled in Perth. We don't worry about things like time. We're in Western Australia. At the moment, you're watching on YouTube only, hopefully soon back on Facebook as well. But we need to have around about 100 followers to do that. So please, if you can jump onto Facebook and follow us, that would be much appreciated. We have the first in this brand new series of this podcast, talking to well-known people here in Perth, but you'll also find it very interesting wherever you're watching from anywhere in the world. We will get to our special guest in a sec. Some very concerning news from America during the week, and in particular, it comes from Oklahoma. We've got just a little snippet so you can have a listen to what this gentleman says and give you an idea about what it is we're talking about.
We're going to make an important announcement today.
All right, let's see it.
Regarding the Bible and the Ten Commandments.
Don't do that.
My staff has been looking at Oklahoma statute. We've been looking at Oklahoma academic standards. And it's crystal clear to us that in the Oklahoma academic standards, under Title 70, multiple occasions, the Bible is a necessary historical document to teach our kids about the history of this country, to have a complete understanding of Western civilization.
There is absolutely no sense in which it is necessary to teach the contents of the Bible in order to adequately teach or learn about the history of this country or Western civilization. And there are absolutely no data anywhere that suggest education outcomes would be improved by teaching the contents of the Bible.
Interesting. I find that quite outrageous and dangerous, to be honest, on so many levels. We're going to talk about that for sure tonight. But joining me on tonight's podcast, Rich and Luke, who's just joined in. Good on you, Luke. And we'll talk to you in a sec, who are well-versed in all things Christian. And Jason, who, like me, is not a believer. Suresh is not with us tonight, unfortunately. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hey, it's good to be back.
Fantastic. Now, I actually have... I was going to say tonight's special guest. I don't think there would be too many people in Perth who don't know the name Jon Lewis. He's become a part of Perth's culture and our broad, beautiful landscape. You may not have seen him, but you sure would have had to listen to him and heard his voice as what can only be described as very gentle and extremely listenable. Is he a believer? I actually have no idea, but I'm looking forward to finding out. Welcome to our podcast. Great to have you with us, Jon Lewis.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Luke. Thank you, Rich and Jason. Delighted to be here. I am a believer.
Luke's microphone is muted. There we go. He's off. Beautiful stuff.
It's on purpose. My wife's doing dishes in the background. So
she's a good woman.
She's very good. Very good.
So you are a very special first guest on our podcast. Do you feel special, Jon Lewis?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I am. My mum told me I was special. I had teachers at school that told me I was special, and they gave me a special hat and the special desk to sit at. And I felt special. I was very special in sport as well.
Right.
So that's
Okay.
special what it's for.
Look,
But
we'll find out.
I feel very welcome, though. That's the most important thing. Thank you.
Oh, it's great for you to make some time to be with us, mate. Before we get into the nitty gritty, tell us what you are up to at the moment, as far as what you're doing with your life.
I was in radio for 39.99 years, and I feel like I created something special, certainly something that I very much enjoyed and loved and seemed to be appreciated. And now I've got this time to think about what I do next and what else I can create. So I feel like I've been given a new piece of paper, and I'm just currently choosing the colors, I think, to work with, or the medium to work with. I still haven't quite worked it out. But I don't want to rush into it. I want to make sure it's like it was the first time, a passionate choice.
I guess one of the difficult things, John, after being as a radio announcer doing the mid-dawn shift on PR for 40 years, very hard to come down from that place. It was only just a matter of weeks. Are you getting close to feeling that that's happened now and there's not much you can do about it?
It's funny. Once it happened, it was like a door just closed. Bam, that was it. And then I started to get sort of excited at things that wouldn't excite normal people. Like I went to see a film, and the film finished at 10 o'clock, and I got a little bit of anxiety. I thought, oh no, I'm late. I've got to go. I've got to leave. I can't, stay here. And then I thought, what am I talking about? Those days are gone. I can relax, and it was a weight lifted off me. I felt so light. It was a bizarre feeling. So there's lots of things like that are happening, and I got to say I enjoy it very much.
I'm sure your lovely wife is loving the time spent together.
Yes, I've been making dinner tonight. I made chicken pot pie, country style, with ingredients that you just kind of grab. You just think, I don't know if it's supposed to. I was right with the chicken, but the rest ingredients, I'm not sure. I believe she ate it with a smile and kindness.
Fantastic.
We'll see.
So look, obviously, what we sometimes take it fairly seriously, but everyone believes in something, and this podcast gives us all the opportunity to talk to people like one of our regulars. You can't see it necessarily on your little window there. Fenton is from, if I remember, San Francisco. I think that's where he's from. And he says Dan rules. Who's Dan?
From
Dan,
the video.
Dan the man.
From what, sorry?
Dan McClellan from the video we just played.
Yes, I didn't know his name. Yeah, no, he's terrific. Love watching what he has to say. So we wanted to get you on to talk about other aspects of your life, which of course people may or may not know about you. My first question, and then I'll hand over to the panel to drill down on the deeper, the deep thinking. Jon Lewis, are you what would be considered a spiritual man, John?
Yeah, very much so. I believe in God. To me, it's not even a decision. It's just a life. And I think it's one of the true meanings of the word belief. I just believe it. I certainly can't prove it. I can prove it fairly comfortably to myself. But I don't know if this is controversial, but I would think if I were a divine being, if I were completely provable, like completely, then I think I'd be worried that people might kind of give up and not have to try very hard because they say, oh, God will fix it. God will do this. God will look after things. So I would think maybe it's supposed to. I mean, who am I to say how a divine being works? I've got no idea. I'm not quite divine yet. But I think that might be the way it would work. So I'm comfortable that I haven't got definitive proof, but I do feel it in my heart very, very comfortably.
Are we talking a specific God, or we assume that you're talking about the Christian God, the God of the Bible, as it were? There's so many gods out there.
I don't know what God looks like. I feel comfortable assuming he's a man. But I think if you're a perfect being, you don't really need to be anything. You could probably be anything you want to be at any given moment. But I feel comfortable with one being or one God or one creation, I would think. Because why would you need more? If you're perfect and you can do anything, why would there need to be more of you? You'd be self-sufficient in yourself.
By saying that, I'm assuming that what you mean by that is that there is one God, and other people tend to choose their way of communicating and calling it something different, whether you're a Hindu or whether you're whatever. Is that what you mean by that? That there's one God, but there's many different ways of connecting, as it were?
Well, there's one God for me, but the next person, they might require many gods, or they may have the opportunity of many gods, because I can't understand how a god would work. But maybe for me, God's worked out that I need one God because I have concentration issues. But maybe other people require more than one God, so more than one God is what God would give them. You know, it's
Right.
like if you're a teacher, you're trying to educate someone, you would say, well, for you, I'm going to talk about it in lyrics of rock music, but for you, I might talk about classical music. For you, I might be more methodical and analytical. I mean, it's a guess, though, really, isn't it? Or, no, maybe I think guess is not fair. I think it's still my belief that that's how a God would work, because all I can assume is that a perfect being would operate in the way that I would understand that closest suits my understanding of perfection. And that's how I would try and put it together. But I don't spend a lot of time trying to work it out, because it will send me.
Yeah. Did you grow up in a religious environment in your home when you were a little boy?
I think quasi-religious. On Good Friday, Mum would make sure that we ate fish, and it was the blandest boiled fish you ever could taste. But you knew it was fish because it was full of bones and it had a white sauce. And on Christmas, I can't actually recall if we mentioned Jesus very much on Christmas. It was really Father Christmas was the name. And I only really go to church now to keep my darling wife company, because she regularly goes to church on a Sunday. And so I like to go with her. But I do find myself biting my lip more than a few times. Some of the things don't quite add up. But, you know, it works for all of those beautiful people. Like, I see the result. Like, sometimes the method isn't the solution. The method is just what it takes to get there. And when they say the end justifies the means, I feel like there's sometimes where that's true, but not always.
So one more from me, guys, and I'll hand over. When in your life can you remember when you decided, because it wasn't something that was rammed down your throat as a family, but it was something that was there? What age did you decide that you believed in God? Do you remember? Was it an awakening moment, or just?
No, God was always there. It was like, you know, you got mum and dad and brothers and sisters and friends. They were just there. You just didn't question it. And so when I was told about God, or whatever time that was, or when I was taught how to say my prayers, that's just what you did. It just seemed so comfortable and natural. And it was so comfortable and natural that when I moved out of home, I still wanted to do it. I still felt very comfortable. I didn't feel if I was a bad person if I didn't do it. I just felt that it seemed right, or I wanted to keep doing it. But it did give me a lot of guidance. You know, in those times where you think, well, I've never done this before, this, you know, nefarious thing you do when you're sort of a bit more than a teenager, and you think, oh, what should I do here? And it's nice to have something completely rock solid to think, and I don't mean to be, you know, all pious about this, but you'd think, what would Jesus do? You know, some people say, what would Superman do? But it's nice to have a rock solid, undeniable good thing that you can look at and say, this will give me some kind of guidance in this situation that I've never been in before. When you've been in it before, you probably know what to do.
I understand perfectly, gentlemen. Sharpen up your drills and get to work.
Oh,
He's stuck on the chair.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm going to whittle away at this one. John, I mean, no disrespect whatsoever, sincerely. And I think the other guys on the podcast would understand that as well. I'm not criticizing Christianity or belief in God or anything. I genuinely ask these questions because I'm genuinely curious. One of the things that I'm most concerned about with a lot of Christians is that they are good because they are scared of going to hell. And that concerns me, because that to me says you're not actually a good person, you're a bad person on a leash. And I, as an atheist, have a set of morals and ethics that have no basis in anything the Bible teaches or anything any other religion teaches. It's purely around my desire to make sure that I do the right thing by other people and by myself. I care about people. I'm empathetic towards other people. I'm charitable. I often describe myself as a Christian without the spirituality. And so I put to you, Jon Lewis, would you be as good a person as we all know that you are if you didn't have Christianity and a belief in God behind you?
I don't think I'd be as good a person because I wouldn't have the guidance during those difficult, questionable areas in my life. Which way should I do? You know, they'll never notice it if I take it, but should I take it? You know, so that helps to give me guidance there, and that's very positive. But I agree with you, Jason. I've never been one for threats. Like, if you're not good, you'll go to hell, and if you're good, you'll go to heaven. That doesn't work for me, and I'm not even sure what those two are. In fact, I suspect they might even be the same place, but you will just get what you feel most comfortable with, was advised to me at one point by a religious man. Yeah. So, no, if you do this, you'll go and get this punishment. If I know what I'm doing is right, you might as well just give me the punishment right away, because then it's over and done with, and at least I don't have the fear of the punishment. Yeah, so I quite agree. Yeah, good observation.
Yeah. So I don't know if you're aware of what makes up this group, this bunch of rat bags. So, and I mentioned it in the intro, but just in case you didn't, Luke and what's your name again? Rich have been Christians for many years. Luke,
yes, yeah, of course,
is a pastor when he can get to work. But
there's a lot of sinners out there. Business is good.
Absolutely. You can make millions. And so Jason and I are we're unbelievers, as it were. So it's interesting. We've got 3 on 2 now, Jay. So we're better, be on.
No. We're all on the same bus heading for enlightenment.
We say that.
That's right. So Luke and Rich, many things that Jon said, I saw your heads nodding in agreement and understanding. It was a very, very practical look, I think, at what God means to Jon and obviously to you guys as well. So what would you like to ask him about his faith?
I'm getting help.
You're good.
That's a good one. Good joke. That's a funny one. I can't tell it.
I'm glad you put things away like that and not.
Well, you know what? Sometimes you'll take help from wherever you can get it.
That's true.
Yeah. Sometimes I think it's coming from up here, and it's actually probably coming from down there. But no.
I don't know what everybody else's screen looks like, but I've got the 2 heavenly guys directly above me.
That's beautiful. That's nice.
No, Jon, good to meet you. I was apologies for being late this evening, gents. But I snuck in during the opening credits and just kind of popped in. You know, it's kind of like when you sneak into the church service at the back during the worship. You hope no one notices how late you are.
I used to hate that. Yeah,
exactly right.
If they're all serious, they'll be staring forward.
Yeah. Everything turns. So no, good to meet you. Great to have you on board. I mean, I don't. I'll have to have a think of a question, but I do have a comment. I just love the authenticity of the way you articulated that faith. I get stuck sometimes in theological bubbles and sort of trying to figure everything out and trying to have a bit of an answer or understanding 15 different viewpoints on each different theological position. And it serves us well in some of the conversations here, but it can be it can be quite taxing. And I just love the way that you just said, I don't really understand this, but I know this. You know, it's like you don't need to have something figured out for you to know what you believe. And but no, everything you said I thought was really great. In particular, I think it's a a great viewpoint to see God as a being that would give you what you need, and not just yourself, but someone else. So if there is someone else in a certain position and they have a certain understanding of God or a viewpoint, for that to kind of be met if it serves the greater good for the trajectory of their life or for the world around them or whatever it is. Because to me, and that aligns very much with how I view God as someone who doesn't care about as much, doesn't get hung up on the same stuff that we do. I think God's quite okay not being fully understood, as long as we're sort of moving in the right direction. So
that's a good way of looking at it, isn't it? It's like a rocket scientist. They just know you're never really going to understand them. So at some point they'll just say, okay, goes whoosh. Oh yeah, whoosh. Okay, I'm with you. That's right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, rocket go up. Yeah.
Yeah. Rocket go up. Go fast.
Or even doctors, they're like, look, we've got this medication. We're 80% on how it actually operates, but we know it does work. So it works. Just take it. And, so
but,
I think that's great.
I reckon, Luke, that doctor's analogy is a really good one. Hey, baby.
He's gone sideways.
Cool. Lost him.
I think he's disconnected somehow. Oh, no.
Well, while he's coming back, we do have a comment we can bring on while John. I suspect the phone went low battery.
Oh
no. Whoops.
But while the phone's coming back, Greg did pop a good comment while we were chatting about that. You don't need a belief in God to have a moral compass. I think we've talked a little bit about it. I think we did an episode on it.
Yes.
And I think all four of us, maybe I'll let Luke speak for himself, but at least the three of us, two atheists and the believer. I think Luke believes you don't need God, a belief in God to have a moral compass.
No.
Yeah.
I think the opposite is worse, Rich, when people, and I cop this and most atheists do, where they lecture you cannot be moral without knowledge of God. You simply can't. And then they make the most stupid statements of, if you don't believe in God, then why would you not just go out and kill everyone?
Yeah.
Who would want to go out and just kill anyone? I mean, what's that? Is that a default? Yeah, I know.
That's a red flag.
I go out and I kill just as many people as I want.
Because you don't believe in God.
Well, don't kill any because I don't want to. But Christian nationalists are the ones that really upset me because they're using the Bible and Christianity as an excuse to be bigots and racists and just hateful people in general. Where is the charity? Where is the empathy? Where is the turning of the other cheek? It just doesn't exist, and I don't understand how they can call themselves Christians.
No, it's one of the most annoying comments made by Christians that they actually truly believe that you are somehow faking your kindness because you just simply can't. It's impossible. All good things come from God, so they've taken that literally and saying, therefore, there's no good in you. It's impossible. You haven't got God. Stop pretending that you're nice because you can't be. And I mean,
but what's interesting about that though is even that all good things come from God. It says nothing about belief. You can firmly believe that morality is born out of the goodness of an inherently good creator, and yet that is freely bestowed on all of creation, whether you have knowledge or belief in that or not. You know what I mean? For anyone who takes that position, do you really think that someone who wakes up in the middle of the Amazon forest in a remote tribe is a horribly evil person because they've never come across a Christian missionary? Thank God, half their luck. But it's how does that not work? So they don't find love, they don't raise their children, they don't rescue tribesman from some sort of dangerous situation. So there's no morality in that person because they haven't. It's just
But it's
the minute
also-
you start to think about it, it's insane.
How do you describe, like, how do you sort of imagine morality? Because I take a look at some of the higher primates, chimpanzee groups, bonobo groups. They practice a lot of the societal norms that we also practice without any education, without any religion, without any of that. They look after each other. They're empathetic towards each other. They preen each other. They feed each other. I think it was, I can't remember her name now, one of the great evolutionists who actually said, one of the hallmarks of a real civilization, one of the ways that any group has achieved civilization, is when you start finding bones where the hip bone, for example, has healed. Because then what's happened is that person has suffered an injury which would normally cause them to die, but they've been cared for and tended to by other people in that tribe, which says a whole lot about people who are prepared to sacrifice to try and bring somebody else along. And to me, that's a Christian virtue without necessarily being Christian.
Yeah. I think, and going back to the comment about, morality can only come from God, I think I see it as one-upmanship. I am moral because I am in relationship with God. You can't be, whether they believe they can't be or not. It's then elevating themselves and their importance and their whatever ahead of other people who are also being good. How do how do so many charities around the world exist without God being? It almost seems stupid talking about it because it is just so ridiculous. It's pathetic that people would think that way. Oh, we got John back.
There we go.
Was it a battery problem?
My computer support days have never left me.
I think we can tell who is not the professional one.
We did forget to tell you that it was your turn to pedal, and you obviously didn't get the memo. So,
but I was listening, and that thing about the bone healing, I thought was that was a really good observation because that's what it is about compassion.
Yeah.
I think what I like about what you're saying, John, is it's very. You're not trying to pretend that you speak to God and I can prove he's real because I hear his voice. You're not trying to prove anything. You have your relationship with God. It's very individual. It's very personal. It doesn't impact on other people. You're not asking for permission. You're not rolled up in a club and going to church to be in good favor with the good folk there and God and the whole bit. It's refreshing. And I want to talk with these other guys more about it because it's actually quite unique. There's a difference about your belief, but I want to find out where that has come from. Were your parents churchgoers at all at any level?
No, I can't think there was anyone in the family that particularly actually went to church. Some of my friends did, and I think maybe once in a year I might go with them just because they seem like they're enjoying it. But then I found out it wasn't so enjoyable. So I can't think that I've go for church there. I mean, I very much like the people in the church, all the people sitting there, and in the Catholic church that my darling wife goes to. I mean, I was baptized Church of England, but whatever these different churches actually mean. But I like it very much when they turn around and they say, "Peace be with you, peace be with you, peace be with you, peace be with you." I love that. That's my favorite part. That's where you've got these complete strangers and all they want to do is be nice to you and make you feel welcome. Like here with us, regardless of what your background is or how you got there or how late or early you got there, it doesn't matter. It's just peace be. I love that part. I look forward to it, and I try and say to as many people as I can, peace with you.
But does it work? Now, see what works in that is that it makes you feel good, and that is so important, isn't it? It doesn't matter whether you actually think I'm going to go away now and I'm going to sense that peace is with me because some other person said it, but you'll feel good about them saying that, and it makes you feel good. That's all you want from that.
Well, that's right, and I don't listen to the words that they're saying because I think if we look at the actual words, it's like if you go to the Bible and you read every single word and you try and understand every single word, you'll come up with different meanings to someone else, which is why you get those remarkable people that will research into it and try and work out what the story was behind it, or what the intention was. Because quite often we can say things, but the intention of what we meant isn't seen in the words. Some people will get it and some won't. Sarcasm has probably been one of the greatest ways to say something and have a completely different intention, if you know what I mean.
So, John, does that mean that you actually see the Bible more as a set of parables than rather an actual literal, something that should be interpreted literally?
Well, I read, I'm sure you've probably seen this news article as well. It's probably about a year or 2 years ago, where they found some documents that mirrored almost verbatim the words of the Bible that were written, more than 2, 3, 4,000 years ago. Yeah. And I don't disbelieve that, because I think if I were a scribe, knowing full well that hardly anyone else can read or write, and I've got to fill 4,000 pages or 3,000 pages to get my little bag of gold, you just think, get this, copy it out. Just, you can't be entire. And then, they read, is that, oh, gee, did I say all that? Yeah. Do you want to read it? No. I mean, how many politicians read anything? They read the cover page.
Really do ChatGPT.
But I believe God, in his divine wisdom, would have ensured that the whole thing would have had a purpose, because when you hold on to a Bible, it does something to you. And when in court, they give you a Bible. Now, there's no way saying when you're in court, you suddenly become a Christian. Oh, yeah, this is going to, you could lie if you want. But there's something, I haven't been in court, but when you hold on to that Bible, it does something to you. It changes how you perceive what you're going through at that time. So that's how I think, that's to me how I think it works. And I do find it quite intriguing if I'm in a hotel and there's good old Gideon's Bible, like in the Beatles song Rocky Raccoon, and you just flip it open and there's a line in there and it just seems appropriate. How can that be? But it's probably that connection that, and I think the belief helps as well. If you know what I mean.
Would you find the same line that would inspire you if you picked up the Book of Scientology, do you think?
Oh, Ron L.L. Hubbard. He's a master, wasn't he? I love his books. Yeah. I mean, who knows? Maybe that's part of the divine plan. Maybe if you read that, it'll work too. Maybe God's so amazing that you could get any book written with good intention. But the thing is having the wisdom to know what is going to be useful to get you to where you need to be in a good way and what isn't. Because I'm sure there'll be plenty of things out there disguise themselves.
That is a brilliant perspective. Thank you for that. That's actually one I've never thought about before. Thank you. That's really, really smart.
Wow. Who said that?
The divine earpiece.
Yes, that's it. Thank you. Maybe that's what it is.
So, John,
yes.
Sorry, go on.
No, you're right, Peter.
I said, have you ever thought about what you would believe if you were born in India, for example?
I'd probably believe in all the religion that is in India, depending on what part of India I was in. That would probably be the religion I'd go for. And I can only think that one day in heaven, we're all going to be there saying, oh, I can't wait to meet God. God, it's going to be a bunch of gods. Well, God, no, it's going to be like a waterfall. And God will say, all right, well, you all kind of got it wrong, but you can't deny your intention was awesome. And let's face it, you're not perfect like me. So welcome. How could you kick someone out because you got the name wrong? Peter, imagine if I called you Brian and but as long as I said it and I truly believe that was your name, you probably think, oh, he's doing the best he can.
He's completely offended at his left.
Sorry, that was my attempt at humour then, but obviously.
Run away.
No, that was a good one. I got it. Well, I was a bit scared, though.
There's 33 million gods in the Hindu faith, so I understand exactly what you're... And that's just their little plan. I mean, Yeah, and I asked the question because it's one of the things we do talk about, the geographical influence on who it is that we believe in, depending on where you're born. So, which led me to the other question I was going to ask before: is it, have you read and do you read the Bible? Is it that important to you? No.
No, it's always in such tiny, tiny print. Why do they do that? It's like, come on.
Frank, a better vision.
I mean, it was the first book ever printed. I understand that, but I think it's time for a new font. You know, something a bit bigger. And why does the paper have to be so thin? And it's like, wow.
Did you try the audio book?
Well, I quite like those movies. I mean, even what's his name, Mel Gibson, when he did the movie, he didn't even put it in English.
No.
Would it be nice?
They did want to rewrite it in Times New Roman, but the word Roman was a bit suspect. So they.
What have the Romans ever done for us?
That's right.
They did the roads. Oh yeah, the roads.
Okay, the roads. Aqueducts. All right. Everyone mentions the aqueducts.
I want to see one in Comic Sans.
Yes.
Sorry.
I want to see a Bible in Comic Sans. I reckon that'd be that'd be worth the read.
Kind of appropriate, really, for me.
It'd be a bit more comical than what it is at the moment. So, so let me. But we've already talked about. Go on. Sorry.
Well, I just think with the Bible, if it works for you, that's important. Everybody has something that works for them. A mate of mine's a dietitian, Angus, a marvelous man. And if you mention diet to him, I would have thought he'd get upset because, diets don't work. You got to eat food. But he says that's great because it means you're now interested in what you eat and how you eat it. And then his mission then is to kind of tweak it and get some of those nutrients in that you probably need for your particular body chemistry. So it's a pathway, it's a start. It just shows you got the right intention.
Yeah. Yeah. How much of what you believe when it comes to God has influenced how you've been on air as a radio announcer? I mean, I don't think that anyone could ever possibly be offended by anything you've ever said on air. So as a radio announcer, you've chosen not to be controversial. Many people on radio are. They're opinionated and controversial. You don't ever seem to have gone down that path. Is that partly influenced by your belief in God, that you sense the need to be nicer to people? Or has that just always been Jon Lewis from the beginning of time?
It's a work in progress, that is for sure. I think there's no benefit of being controversial to who you are and to humanity. My goal is always to raise people up just a little bit, just a bit, like not a lot, just, a little bit is a good thing. And I think if you're controversial, you just simply want people to notice you because you said something wild that shocked them. If that shock is important, then maybe there's a reason for it. But I find most controversial people just do it to be controversial, which isn't what I want to do. But I find God helps me a little bit because I say, oh, God, what do I do here? Or can you give me, like if you hear of something absolutely mortifyingly terrible that can happen, particularly during the news, you hear about these things. You just think, how do we continue on? So you say a little prayer and you get strength. Where or how it comes to me, I don't know. But I've always felt that people who have faith, not religion, but, faith, I think they have a much easier journey in life because you've always got something strong with you, behind you, next to you, in front of you, wherever it needs to be. It's there. If you don't have faith, you've got to rely on logic. And sometimes things just aren't logical, at all.
Come on.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying.
I love that.
Yeah, I do. I understand, and it does seem to be something that it seems to permeate your person differently than other people. There's something unique, and we are all unique. I mean, there's no question.
We are all unique.
I'm not.
We can always we can always fall back on the Monty Python quotes throughout the entire night. Build me a shrubbery.
Oh, dear.
John, just a query, I guess. I mean, you've got this abiding belief. I'm, I guess, an example of someone that has no belief whatsoever, and I'm not critical of people that do have beliefs. I genuinely want them to be better people. If their belief makes them a better person, that is awesome. It's really good. But I just have my misgivings around, religion making some people a worse person, or having a deleterious effect on other people because of their beliefs. But I guess my point here is that I don't have a belief in a higher being. I have a belief in other people, and I have a belief in myself, and I have a belief that I just want to make life better for everyone, not just myself, but the people around me. From a logic point of view, I don't struggle with that. And I've mentioned to these guys before that the idea that when I come to the end of my life, that's it. It's over. It's done. And I'm finished. There is no more. I actually get some solace and some satisfaction out of that, because that actually means that what I've got right now is so very important, that I've got to do the right thing now, that this is all I've got. And this is all the time I've got. And this is the people around me are all I'm ever going to have. That to me is so very important. And I feel like I don't need a greater power or an outside entity to kind of lead me or teach me or give me anything more than that. I am very satisfied in what I've got. But I'm also very encouraged when I hear people like Rich and Luke and even yourself talk about how their belief makes them better people and makes them love the people around them all the much more. That to me is just a wonderful thing. And I love religion where it improves everything. And I hate religion where it brings grief to so many people.
I think two things there I especially liked is that the word need. If you don't need it, that's great. Like, I don't think I need it, but I really appreciate it when it's there. It's like, I don't need someone to make me dinner, but when they do, boy, does it make life better, especially when I really, could have done with that kind of help. I think that's one of the things that gets me. I think there are some people that are content with what they have, but, if you're right with the way life is, that's also great. I remember talking to a musician, and he said, some people, they don't need, he said, brother, they don't need to know what you think. He said, if someone says to me, do you like country music? I said, brother, that's fine. He said, he doesn't need to know I don't like country music. He's happy, they're happy, everyone's happy. I mean, we have to get along together. I think this thing of forcing people to join in, is not helpful. But also, I'm not a big fan of religion. I love faith, but I'm not a big fan of religion because maybe you've discussed this before. Which is the right religion? I remember Woody, maybe his name's not so popular these days, but there was a film producer who made a movie, and they said, if you're going to pick a religion, pick ours. He said, well, why would I pick one behind the eight ball? There's all these other religions, but and even in Christianity, if I was going to choose a religion, I'd probably choose Baptist, because I understand that was created in Australia, so I'd probably choose the Australian religion. But it's still human beings that have got together and said these are the rules as we see it. You think, well, hang on, you're clearly religious people. How can you see the rules differently to those other people in the other religion that are clearly religious people? How do I know which is the right one? So I leave that for those people that are comfortable with that and like it. And I don't see any reason why you'd want to upset them, because maybe that's the way it's supposed to be. That's how it's supposed to work. But we have our faith, and I love faith. And to me, faith is kind of like love. Someone loves you. But how do you prove it? Oh, you just know. But what's the empirical evidence that they truly love you? Because a robot could probably do all those things for you. But would the robot love you? Maybe it does. So I put religion there if you want it, but I'm very much about the faith. I think that much you feel that's in your heart. If that's where it is, maybe it's in your thumb.
I think what you're talking about is that connection. You feel connected to someone, and it could be called love, but there's something inside you. You intrinsically know that there's love. Richard talks about it often, saying he has no way of proving love, and you don't need to. And I don't think there's ever a place in your life where you feel you have to, other than describing it to someone who's never experienced love. To try and put it into words is very difficult. And the same goes for a belief in God. I take it you don't label yourself as a Christian then?
I'm pretty sure I believe in Jesus, so that's Christ. So I guess therefore I'd have to be a Christian, because I do believe Jesus. I certainly believe in Jesus as a human being. There's no argument there. And I could well believe that he would be the Son of God, because everything that they say of him seems to be what you'd expect the Son of God to do. But when I have my own quiet times, I feel that very strongly in me. So I feel very comfortable in that way. So I guess, yes, I'd call myself a Christian. Is that too much of an answer? I feel like I'm a politician before I'm a Christian.
I think it's perfect. Just to go back to radio, and that's the one thing you and I, of course, have in common. Around the same time, I was in radio for nearly 40 years, and even though I'm considerably older than you, it's been amazing. If you could wave a magic wand, so for those people listening, John has been on Talkback Radio in Perth for, as he said, 39.9 years.
9 years, yeah. Wow.
Phenomenal following, extremely popular. Now that you're not doing that, if you had a magic wand and you could do anything, any job, anything in the world that you could possibly want, and all you had to do is wave the wand, what would that be for Jon Lewis?
Well, I mean, this sounds so silly, but I really feel like if I was Prime Minister of Australia, I could just fix everything. Like, it doesn't seem like it'd be so hard. No disrespect to the previous prime ministers, but I'm sure Peter, Jason, we've heard all the solutions, haven't we? Everyone's called in with all this. We already know what the solutions are. You don't need a 10-point, 5-point, 6-point plan. You don't need a committee. We know how to fix these things. They're not politically correct, but they are, heartfelt and sensibly correct. And it wouldn't be a hard thing to do. So,
John, we have a theory on this particular podcast. We have a theory that there's one commandment where if we had a prime minister who actually adhered to the one commandment, everything would be great. And that number one commandment is don't be a dick.
Yeah, that would work.
You could run on that.
I would run on a campaign that wouldn't get me elected. I'd say a benevolent dictator. I feel that's the best way to run a country for the short term to get it to where it is. But then you'd have to get out quick before the power corrupted you, because I think it'd be like holding on to the precious. You couldn't hold on to it for too long before it changed who you were, because you'd be subjective. But benevolent dictator, much like a mum and dad is. There's no democracy in your home. They tell you what to do. Unless you've had different homes than me, but they rule the place with love and kindness and the best that they can.
Yeah,
with the kids' best
interest. Would you vote for me?
That's right.
I would.
Yes.
I mean, mate,
you shall take ballet lessons and cricket lessons. I never got to do them, but you will.
And you'll be good.
Yes.
Out of all the things I thought you would have said with that magic wand in your hand, that would have been the last thing I would have imagined you saying about being prime minister. But make it happen. But the problem is, of course, that like all good politicians that get into it because they want to make changes. Peter Garrett's a classic example of a man on fire who influenced the culture of Australia through the brilliant music of Midnight Oil. Very quickly put on his suit and tie and walked in and just got smacked around like nothing else and just spat out at the other end and wasn't able to do anything really of influence that he really wanted to do. It just goes to show what an incredibly corrupt and horrible place it can be for those people who have intentions, because you just get sucked into the whole. I have no doubt that the vast majority of politicians end up being corrupt and lying. I think that we've kind of witnessed that. It's not an accusation that they all are, but it certainly appears to be something which is not operating in the best interests of people. If you took, for example, while we're talking about religion, if you took the character of Christ, politics as a whole, I think, is probably the antithesis of everything that Jesus stood for. The marginalized are not looked after. The minorities are not looked after. The poor, the weak, that they always seem to be at the bottom of the pile.
And, it amazes me, because the poorer someone is, surely the easier they are to help, because their expectations are so low that not much, a dry house with a roof, a dry place would be so much better. So it would be so easy. You wouldn't need to throw a million, $100 million, $1 billion at it. You could probably say, well, here's something nice and dry and safe. Oh, fantastic. Assuming that's what they need. Some people might have a health issue where dry and safe isn't enough. They need to know that they're safe from whatever it is that they fear for them.
But for people on the street, for instance,
I would think.
For people who don't have a home.
Is Australia more of a Christian nation as a result of the way we treat poor people compared to somewhere like, say, the United States? I mean, here we've got universal health care, we've got state housing, we do have welfare. Over in the United States, it's a very different story over there. No universal health care, very difficult to stay on unemployment benefits for longer than 12 months. It is a very hard life for people over there, and they claim to be a Christian nation as opposed to us, which we are openly, supposedly, a secular nation.
Well, yeah, I understand what you're saying, and I think whatever religion you call the country, there's still good. There will be good people there that want to do good things, but I would think that there's always money to do the basics, and I would think the money. Well, maybe not the money. There's people who are prepared to do the basics, and I would think it can't be too hard. But I do. It troubles me that we very casually go with easy terms like food on the table. Is one of my favorites, because I think, well, what is food on the table? Is it a casserole? Is it fast food? Is it fish and chips wrapped in newspaper? Or is it a bag of carrots, which is, food on the table and would get you, give you some nutrients, but it's not as tasty as fast food. But I think we get caught up in a lot of easy terms, and then we tend not to question it. And then if you say, oh, yes, but over there they're getting it easier or better, then we get angry. And it's a bit like, is it George Orwell, 1984, where they invent an enemy to bring the people together because you're angry at what's over there. But if we question more things and just have the time to embrace. I remember seeing two little children in Madagascar. There we were, walking the street in Madagascar. We just got off our cruise ship, you know how it is. And the two children said, can we have some money, please? And there's no way I was going to give them money, because I thought that it could be a scam, it could be anything. But my darling wife had some bananas. We just bought some bananas, really tasty ones. And she said, no, we don't have money, but we can give you some bananas. And they happily took the bananas. And then they dropped the banana peels right there on the floor. And I said to them, wouldn't it be better if you just dropped them in the garden, because there's a little garden sort of thing to the side. At least then it would be organic. And I remember they picked up these banana peels and looked at me and put them in the garden bed. They actually did what I asked them to do. And it made me think, if everyone was just a little bit, would think just a little bit more and do a little bit better for someone else that they may never meet, we'd be in a better place. So now when I go for a walk and I see rubbish, I think, well, I can't, tell someone not to do it myself, so I'll pick up that rubbish and put it in the bin. And then I walk like this until I can wash my hands.
Good stuff. If you've just tuned in, welcome. Love to hear from you on YouTube, which is where you're watching us now, right around the world. You can jump on and ask a question. Our special guest tonight is Jon Lewis, who has been in radio talkback for many, many, many moons, almost 40 years, and has agreed to come and talk to us, a man of faith, and a man of quite a unique kind of faith in God, which is really quite refreshing to come across. I don't know if anyone can help me out with Greg. Greg Rowe, you might see on screen. John, too, by the way, is my brother.
Hey, Greg.
He said, just don't drink the Kool-Aid. Does anyone...
I agree with you, Greg. Greg's right. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. Don't take what they give you. Here, have this, sweet and yummy.
Say it like you all know what he's talking about, and I don't. Am I the only dunce?
Have you not ever heard that saying?
No.
What?
No.
It's an American term, though, isn't it, Pete? I mean, you're Aussie. It's an American term. Don't drink the Kool-Aid, man.
It's all to do with that big cult down in South America.
I mean, I've heard of it, but I don't know what it means.
It's about Jonestown, the massacre from the religious cult, and they drank the Kool-Aid with the poison in it.
I think I'm having some connectivity issues.
Okay.
So I was saying, don't get so sucked into what you're being told that you do something stupid like drink Kool-Aid with poison in it. You know?
Cool. Okay. Well, at least I didn't pretend to know what it was about. So I thank you. I do remember the story now. The older I get, the less I remember about things like that. So thanks.
Good on you, Pete. I pretended a little bit.
Yes. Yeah, we'll ask you later what bits. This is a new person to our podcast, Giant Love.
Love it.
That's the name of the Giant Love. You can't compare US to AU. The population is vastly different. Defiant. It says different.
But that's true. I mean, it's comparing different area. I mean, it's like Singapore. I mean, they can do remarkable things there because they have such a small population, and you can actually, make things happen with a big population and different languages and different faiths and different ideas. It would be a lot more difficult, but not a hard thing to do, I would think. You need to have practical ways. But yeah, you can't go just comparing.
And Giant Love again says Trump brackets. Not sure what your reference there is. Giant Love, can you kind of expand a little bit on that? Oh, there we go.
Jonestown. Yeah.
Jonestown.
I think this basically sums up the US situation at the moment. I always feel so sorry for my colleagues and friends in the US during election season. It just must be a nightmare. No matter what side of politics you're on, it's not like an anti-Trump thing. It just feels like all the anger and angst and everything gets dialed up to 100%. So maybe that's just a comment. I don't know.
Yeah, I watched the entire debate, by the way, the first one between Biden and Trump, and I've never seen a train wreck anything like it. If that's your two choices,
I do as well.
I know.
I think America.
That's the best they have.
I think we're about to witness the end of an empire. If Trump is elected president, I think that's pretty much it.
My dad says to me that America, like all empires, will fail, and I didn't expect to see it in my lifetime.
No, me either. No.
But one of those guys is second best. Like one of them is the second best choice there is in America. One of them.
Is there a third, please? Did you notice the complete lack of people wanting to put their hand up to be involved in running for president, either in their own party or overall? It's like, run away.
Here's the third choice. I have the third choice here.
Yeah.
Done. At least I understand what you're saying. Yeah. Tamara Pridham has joined us as well. I didn't know about Kool-Aid either. Rowie, God love you, Tamara. Thank you.
Yeah,
I feel
thanks, Tamara.
It's less stupid than what I felt 5 minutes ago. That's good. Tamara said against his Kool-Aid. She's just repeating what she had written there. Jamestown, yes, thank you. Giant Love. I was replying as the comments were happening. Sorry. Giant Love, absolutely. Fantastic. Giant Love and Tamara, just to help us out, because we're we're just 5 lowly guys from a little place called Perth in Western Australia, one of the most isolated cities in the world. Where are you from? Love to know whereabouts in the world you are viewing us and helping us by joining in and making this podcast far more interesting. Now, we kicked off talking about Oklahoma City, and we heard from and saw a particular gentleman, John, talking about how they want to put Bibles in every school. One of the things I find, two things I find, well, there's actually a lot of things I find ridiculous about that. One of them is they talked about learning more about American history. Now, as far as I'm aware, Egypt and Iraq and a couple of other places like that come to mind when it talks about the early writings of the Bible, certainly the Old Testament. What part do they think American history has got to do with that? Secondly, do they assume that every kid in the class is going to be Christian, that they have to study and read and be taught from the Bible? Surely.
Well, it is Oklahoma.
Yes. I did allow for that, but even though that surely can't count for everyone. So, John, in Oklahoma, they, from what I can gather, not only want to put 10 commandments in the school classrooms, but they want to teach from the Bible to all kids. What do you think? Actually, I'll skip you for a second. I want to ask Rich. Rich, what do you think about that idea?
Yeah, look.
Yeah, Rich.
Rich loves it.
Watching that clip.
Go on, Rich.
Rich texted me and said he's all for it.
Yeah, I know. I'm a Christian. I'm just not a very good one, apparently, according to some people's measurements. But Dan McClellan has some great answers in that clip, so search his stuff. But for me, I think a couple of the things that trouble me is the way it's not necessarily that the Bible is. I think what's troubling to me is the whole context of the culture wars and the way that this is thrust into it. And you can tell it's not some sort of thoughtful, love-filled action is on part of the government. By the way, there are very reasons behind it, which, if you examine them, are literally false all the way through. Falsehoods, outright lies. The Bible's not actually mentioned in the areas that he's talking about. So, like, it's not a good faith thing. But what he's suggesting is not that what John has been talking about, a real pragmatic, love-filled faith that is transformative and supportive to you being put into the classroom. What they're asking for is the Bible to be some kind of idol on an altar. Like, you don't have to actually open it. You put it there as some sort of sign that we are a Christian nation as against to all those other kinds of nations we can be. And if you want to be on the in crowd, it's got to be something to do with this Bible. You can't be Muslim. For me, what it is saying is a lot of the marginalized minorities in that place are no longer welcome in those schools by putting the idol of the Bible in. So,
Totally.
I'm all for good stuff in, but I don't think that's what's actually happening there. And that's the thing that actually is troubling to me.
Yeah. Just to jump back for a second, Tamara is from Perth. So, wow, just
Never heard of it.
No, I don't know. It's Perth in Scotland, I'm assuming she's talking about. And Giant Love, which is a fairly non-specific term. We don't know if Giant Love is male, female, or one of the other.
Doesn't matter. Giant Love.
No, but Chicago.
Love is all that matters.
Giant Love is Giant Love.
The amazing thing about Giant Love's location is Chicago. Can somebody tell me, historically, what do Chicago and Perth have most in common?
Love of Michael Jordan.
Jon Lewis. No,
Wind. Who said wind? Someone said wind. It's wind.
it's
That's
wind.
my answer to everything. Oh,
Chicago and Perth were voted the two.
It's my
windiest
solution
cities in
to
the
a lot of
world.
problems.
Did everyone get that? Did everyone hear what I just said?
no, sorry. John was mucking
Sorry
around,
for talking while you're interrupting.
Yeah.
Chicago and Perth were, and I don't know whether they still are, the two windiest cities in the world.
Mm.
And if you've ever tried to walk up St. George's Terrace on a wintry day, it's just almost impossible. And Chicago is so Giant Love, I am very tall.
Oh,
Hence the
There you
giant
go.
part
There's
of
the
the giant
giant.
love.
Wow. Okay. How tall is
Makes
very
sense.
tall?
Awesome to have you with us, Giant Love.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. Good bunch of people. See, this is your influence, Jon Lewis. These are
Yeah, I know.
there's no proof that
We get
they
tall people,
are
people from Perth. I like Chicago, by the way. It's a very nice city. I wasn't there a long time, but it was a great time.
Okay.
It's a
all right.
Satira
Nice place. I got a
Hey, what was that, Jay?
I said Peter Satira is awesome.
Oh yeah.
Don't tell me no one gets that. Come on.
That's a Chicago.
Yeah.
It's Chicago, and on his own, Peter Satira. But yes, he was from the group Chicago. If you don't know,
I thought you said Peter Matera.
25,
Oh, wow.
He's also awesome.
25 or 64.
Another great Peter.
Don't
And Peter Rose
Luke.
as well.
Yeah,
Peter
no, we
Rowe,
won't
yeah.
go there.
Luke. Don't go there with the Eagles,
I'm
mate.
not.
Do not
Yeah, I'm
do
not.
not bring
Yeah.
it up. I will shut you
Blacklisted
down
this
in an
week.
instant.
That is a form of religion in itself.
Giant Love, about as far away from each other as can be.
About Perth and Chicago.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. No, thank you. Your contribution to this little podcast is valuable and fantastic. So I don't know if we actually got to the question about, John, whether you think the Bible should be a part of every school in Oklahoma. Now, it doesn't specify religious, Catholic, or whatever. It just says every school. So I'm assuming. And as Rich said, if you want to watch
It's year 5 to 12. That's their mandate. Year 5 to 12.
right,
And it's actually to be taught from, apparently. So it's not even just a Bible in the classroom. It's
oh yeah,
evidently has to be, and he's recently just started talking about sanctioning teachers who refuse to do it. It's
What about Scientology schools or Islamist schools?
well, we
any
know
school?
from last
Well,
time.
it's public
I mean,
schooling. It's any public school. So I think a lot of those would be private schooling. I think this just extends to
Also,
public.
private schools aren't included.
I don't think he has jurisdiction over it. He's a superintendent of public schooling, so I
Yeah.
think I
Right.
think he can only enforce it in that space, which is bad
But
enough.
if anyone's interested, if you go in and look at the whole YouTube post, which is hosted with the guy you heard a little bit of, the snippet that we played, and I can never think of his damn name. Rick,
Dan
what's his name?
McClellan.
Dan
Dan.
McClellan.
That's it. And the
While
superintendent.
you're working on his name, though, I should say, Peter, I actually wished in that interview when he was making these comments that there'd been someone like you there saying the things that you've said, like, how is American history in this Bible? What in this Bible is going to benefit the students? How will this make the students more educated? Which is why we send them to school, to get them educated. You can teach them manners and religion and how to do good things at home. But you go to school to get an education. And if you'd have been there, I think you'd have asked those questions. And then I think the question of should or shouldn't we put a Bible in the school would have been more an obvious answer once he had explained himself, if he could.
It depends on what their ulterior motive is. What are they trying to achieve in introducing, not only introducing Bibles into the schools, but actually teaching from them? Now, what I object to with any kind of education system, and we did a spot on this a couple of weeks ago, John, about if God had to send his kids to school, what school would he send them to? And I spent the whole day ringing the education department here in Western Australia to try and find out why they would have state schools, not Catholic schools, but state schools, government-funded schools, teaching religion. And I said, why would you be teaching something that isn't factual, as in it's debatable whether or not it's true per se? And they went, oh, we never thought about that. And I thought, well, shouldn't you? Why would you teach everything that is taught in schools? I would have thought was fact-based, scientific, geography, mathematics, whatever. Why would you introduce something that wasn't necessarily true? And they had no idea. They said, oh, we never thought about that. And I thought, how bizarre.
God can't go to a public school anyway.
If that's the parameters, then why aren't you teaching Scientology as well? Or Jehovah's Witness or Mormonism? Why would you not teach those things? But anyway,
exactly. I mean, I could understand private schools teaching a religion because they're set up and they say, right, well, you know, we're a Catholic school. If you want to learn education and be a Catholic, come to our school. I can understand that, and then those like-minded people would do that. But I think if it's going to be a school that's funded by the taxpayer, then it needs to be for all people, because that's fair to the people that have provided the money.
Yep. I think so. Just sorry, Luke, I'll come back to you a second. Just a couple of more posts on there. Gloria has joined in the conversation. She's from Perth as well.
What a beautiful name.
Is that by any chance somebody that you may or may not know, John?
Well, I do happen to know a Gloria very much. I love her.
I think her last name is Duran. I think that may just be your wife.
Oh, my darling. Just a second. Another cup of tea, please, baby.
I'd like it better if her name was Gloria Duran.
Yeah.
Yes. The president of the world.
Duran, of course, is a very famous Spanish name. Is it not, John?
I think you could be right there, Peter.
Well, it's also a first name. It's also a Christian name for many Spanish people.
I remember those.
One of the great boxers of the world.
Oh.
Go on.
Because I think before I met Gloria, I don't think I'd really been to a church at all very much, and she wanted me to go to church for Christmas Eve. I thought, Christmas Eve, you go to bed early so you can get up at crack of dawn and go get your presents. And come on! So we went to church, and this is one of the reasons why I know there's a God, because I said, all right, God, I'm here at church, I'm doing it. And then the very first song we had to sing in church was Gloria. And I said, you have got a sense of humor.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Is that an accident? Is that a coincidence? Or is that someone who's got a divine sense of humor? I'll let you figure it out. I thought she's got me singing her name now.
A few more comments coming in. Sorry, it seems to be a 2-minute delay with my replies. That's from Gloria. Gloria, we don't necessarily mention them the second they come through, so there may be a delay. We don't know. I have no idea. You are coming all the way from Chicago, so who can say? Who can say? So did we get to the, should there be, well, we kind of did talk about it and you answered it. Should there be Bibles available? I think that the whole thing is a crazy idea. I'm not sure whether
I think the best place is...
Sorry?
In general. You agree that in general we should teach religion and all the variants thereof and what they're all about and what they believe in, just so that we've got that breadth of knowledge?
I think we talked about this from a historical perspective. It can be a part of history. I don't know what it's going to be a part of. They're talking about teaching all sorts of things from the Bible. And the funny thing was, John, when we were discussing this on our little messenger link that we talk about, Suresh, actually, you know what? I'm going to read it. This is hilarious. This is what Suresh
the Ezekiel verse.
Yeah. and obviously because Jason commented on there about Desiderata as well, which is just awesome. But I'm just going to quickly find it. Just give me a sec, because I think
And
it's
as the way you
hilarious.
keep the religious books, I'd put all the books in the library, and then they're there
That's a good idea.
in the religion
Correct.
section.
No one
Absolutely.
would have thought of that. Well done, John.
That's revolutionary.
So
You could have
Suresh was
revolving
saying,
doors to make it a revolutionary library.
John for Prime Minister.
This is why I'm voting for you.
well, he has to be prime minister because his name is John, and there's so many politicians called John. I don't know what it is. This is Suresh's. We're talking about reading parts from the Bible, John, to potentially kids or children that shouldn't be hearing this kind. This is from Ezekiel 23:20, which says, "There she lusted after her lovers, whose genitals were like those of donkeys, and whose emission was like that of horses." Now,
I've seen that movie.
That's my life first.
that's yeah. That
Wow.
is-
I've got
seen
a
that
bumper sticker
website.
from Coorong with that on it.
I think that book needs to be vetted.
Yeah, well, I don't think they're going to be reading that out to kids in school. But I think that's what Suresh in his wisdom was pointing out, that the irony of saying we're going to teach from the Bible. I can guarantee you they're not teaching anything from the Old Testament. If they do, it will be very, very well handpicked about the little bits. But if they're putting the Bibles into kids' availability, they can read that stuff. That is not something that kids should be reading. It's crazy.
That would be even more controversial. The Bible for the school that's got those bits blacked out, redacted.
Oh,
It's the
read
redacted.
Bible.
I can't believe they redacted it. And you'd never want to be a teacher teaching religion. How would it be? You'd say, "Oh, here's this happened," and then you got someone who says, "Well, we'll prove it." "Oh, don't make me prove it, son. I can't prove." And then you talk about there's the rainbow; it will never flood again. And then some other child says, "Well, my daddy told me the rainbow means this thing now." And you go, "All right, okay, fine." It'd be too hard to be a teacher trying to teach that and then make sure they got the spelling right and their arithmetic.
I think if you go back and have a look at the definition of formal education, very hard to squeeze these kind of topics onto that banner. Because
I'm glad you said that, Peter.
Good.
Because
What did I say?
What goes out of the school so they've got time to read and study religion? What are you going to sacrifice? Oh, we're not going to learn about geography. That goes so we can teach you. I mean, there's only so many hours in the day at the school. Which bit goes to teaching religion? It's hilarious.
Yeah.
So you got to cut out sport, maybe.
It's fraught with danger, isn't it? It absolutely is. Giant love Bible. No way separation of religion and state from any generation. From my generation. Go on. Sorry, Luke. What were you?
No, I was just going to say, as the resident Bible geek, of anyone here who you think like I love the Bible. I give my life to teaching it. I study it. I read it. I think it's the most awesome compilation of literature, and there's so much beauty in it. Which obviously is a very different thing to it being written by God and inerrant and all that sort of stuff that we've spoken about that I'm not on board with. But what I'm saying is, you think any one of us would be like, how awesome, we're getting the Bible into schools and teaching that. This is the worst idea I could ever possibly think of. And when I heard this, and it started with Louisiana posting the 10 Commandments on every school, every classroom has to have a poster with the 10 Commandments in it. What is that going to achieve? And also, why the 10 Commandments? Why not the Beatitudes or anything else? If we're going to put something there, I mean, surely that would be better than don't murder someone. Do we need a poster for us to not murder someone? But either way, then that kind of evolves into what we see in Oklahoma now with this with the Bible being in the classroom, and actually not necessarily like, we're now going to start teaching religion. The idea behind it is we're now going to use the Bible to inform the teaching of the existing subjects, like geography, like science, heaven forbid, like history and this and that, which is a terrible idea, because that's not what the Bible is or is for, and is fraught with danger. But with all of this, I think the more that I rack my brain thinking, there are so many reasons why this is not a good idea, and that you could say, hey, this isn't going to achieve what you want it to achieve. Oh, and also let's not forget that Oklahoma, out of how many states are there in America? 52, 51? I think there might be.
You forgot Australia.
Yeah, true. Oklahoma in education rankings is like 49th, and I think Louisiana is 40th. So instead of actually trying to solve some problem of like how do we fix our education system and equip our kids better, it's like, oh, let's chuck a Bible and a poster in each class, and that's a good thing. It is absurd. So really, the only conclusion that you can come to as to why this is happening is it has nothing to do with wanting to influence the next generation with the teaching of Christ and the ways of love and loving your neighbor. It's got nothing to do with that. It's not even got anything to do with trying to convert future people, kids into a one religion or another. It's actually purely political. There is no other. This is what Christian nationalism looks like when it gets to a position of actual power. And obviously Trump has played a lot into this. And Christian nationalism moved from a fringe group trying to get an invite to the president's prayer breakfast to maybe try and garner some favor, to all of a sudden like right in the annals of power. And this is the result of what we're seeing. And obviously the marrying of the Republican Party with right-wing evangelicalism.
Well, as you'd be well aware, Trump is not a true believer. He was a Democrat for a lot longer than he was a Republican.
Of course.
He's just hitching his wagon to that group because he knows it's going to help him sweep in.
And he gets the evangelical support because they go, well, we don't really care whether he is embodying the ways of Christ and the lifestyle of this is what it looks like as we're kind of trying to love each other better. That's irrelevant. He's wanting to garner their favor and is willing to do things to push that agenda forward. So it's an ends justifies the means for a lot of this evangelical support, which is insane because I just this cannot end well. And this is actually the antithesis of what Jesus was like when he came. Everyone expected him to bump Caesar off. That's how he was going to rule. He's just going to replace Caesar on the throne and free the Jews. Like that was what the Messiah was supposed to do. And instead, he subverts it completely, going to the cross, and he says, "No, we're not going to exercise power over people the way empires work. Instead, we're going to come under people, and not just the people that can do something back to you, but the poor, the marginalized, the oppressed, those that can do nothing for you. That's who we're going to come alongside, and we're going to try and change the world with love between us at this level, and just don't worry about trying to impose this from above." And I mean, we're still trying to do that, but we're also, for people to be following that way, to keep getting trapped in this sense of, we'll do that, but we want to impose it from the top by putting Bibles in classrooms and making people believe what we believe and getting the power and all that sort of stuff, have just totally missed the point. And it's sad because it makes the Bible like a joke, a bit of a it really, for me, that's what bugs me, because you just go, this is a prop. This becomes a tool, and it's absurd, and this literalistic interpretation, and you miss so much of the beauty of it and the genius of it, because it's being treated in a way that it was never expected to be treated. It was never designed to be. So it's a big warning sign. I don't think it'll last. I think but if it does, this is the beginning of the Handmaid's Tale. This is this is a bit of a worry.
Yeah, we've read that book. Yeah, it's been written already.
Yes, right.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's nothing
Back to the time of
really
the Puritans.
shocking or surprising for what we know Americans love to do. Just quickly before we move on to the last Giant Love, awesome chat I stumbled upon. Good on you, Giant Love. Have to go. Carry on, mates. Right on. Fabulous. Lovely to have you a part of this podcast. We hope you can come back
Thanks, Giant.
next Wednesday and do it again. It is getting a little bit. Sorry?
Just a quick thing, just on what Luke was saying. I just thought it was wonderful because, like the powerful. I think when you talk about the Bible using it as a tool, I think that's maybe what that politician was exactly doing, Luke. I think this was a way to get votes, and I think I would task him with the consequence of if this goes horribly wrong. And this causes trouble. Will you, Mr. Politician, be responsible and take consequence for what you've done? And I think I even would have hit him with the question: are you just doing this for votes? And just watch him sweat. You know?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't know if anyone else has any more information on it, whether or not it's a done deal or whether or not it has to go through different voting rights or
whatever happened to Sunday school? The Sunday school is just going to get Sundays off now?
I think anyone to hijack the education system is just absurd. John, it's probably getting a little bit late for a man who's used to starting work at midnight. I don't know whether your body clock is, but we'll wrap up in a sec, but I just really want to do a quick 60 with you, which is a bunch of questions lasting around about 60 seconds. And
I rehearsed the answers already. Thanks.
Aha. Just answer them as quickly as you possibly can, if you can do that. Are you ready? The prize money.
Is that the first question? Yes.
Done.
Well done.
All right.
Correct.
I don't know if you can hear this clock or not. This going. No, you can't because it's not working. There we go.
I'll do it.
Perfect.
We got it. Are you ready? You know what? I'm going to stop that because that's really annoying. Not for you because it's not that loud, but I had to turn it up so that you could hear it.
All right, feel free, gentlemen, to shout out answers. I take all the help I can get.
Earth, round or flat?
Both. It's round, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I know. You a flat earther?
No, I'd love the Earth to be flat because I would love to see what's underneath, and I would go see that movie, The Flat Earth. I would want to see it. You know, the guy digging the hole. I'd love that. No, round.
Okay. Moon landing, fake or real?
Oh boy, you know what? If a government could keep a secret like that, there'd be a good government. They can't even keep regular secrets. That has to be real because there's no way a government can keep a secret. But as you probably know, they put little mirrors on the moon to measure it.
Can I remind you this is 60 seconds, not 60 minutes?
I thought it was 60 seconds per answer.
You are a cad. A cad, I tell you.
True.
Jesus.
Correct.
Made up story or real?
Real.
Yeah, I thought you've already answered that. Bible, true or false?
Which bit?
Yeah, that's right. Part thereof. I can't hear you.
Microphone. Cutting it out. Microphone. Cutting out.
What?
So that's probably the answer.
See, this is what drinking tea does to you. Leprechauns, true or false?
Well, I've never met a leprechaun that's lied to me yet, so I'd have to say true.
Donald Trump or Joe Biden?
What you mean? Well, to be president of America? I've got a coin here. Which way do you want me to flip it?
Summer or winter?
Oh, I love summer. I love summer.
Ghosts, real or not real?
Wow. That's a great one. Maybe. Gee, you know what? I couldn't say for sure. I mean, I'd go with maybe, because there's plenty out there I just don't understand.
No,
Tax
fair enough.
forms, everything.
Preference, sweet or savory?
Well, I don't have either.
Okay.
I don't have sweet because I'm healthy, and I don't have savory because they're too delicious. So I just go for bland. It's the only way you can see slim.
Bland Jon Lewis. Okay, coffee or tea?
Coffee!
Yeah, I knew you were a coffee man. Mandolin or guitar?
Well, I do love the mandolin, but it hurts my fingers, so I'll go for guitar.
Okay. Rock music or classical?
Well, I quite like classical when it's rocked up, particularly that banana song, Banana Na. But I think easily I'd spend more time listening to rock.
Okay. Favorite band or art?
Beatles. Yeah.
He
Yeah,
loves
good
them.
idea.
I missed that. My mic muted. That's okay. Best film ever?
Star Wars is a good one, but if I could only watch one film forever, it'd be that film Under Siege.
Oh,
Oh, nice.
okay.
I like my birthday cake.
What word do you find hard to pronounce?
What word?
What word do you find hard to pronounce?
Rural. Rural.
My wife.
I usually use the wheat belt.
My wife Louise, as an announcer, had a lot of trouble saying brewery. The Swan
Brewery.
Brewery.
Yes, that can be tricky.
It's the Swan Brewery.
I love being able to say investigative. I love that I can say that.
I could never say citizens advocacy on radio.
Too hard. Why would you try?
I had to. What is your favourite hobby?
Well, currently it's fixing things. In fact, it's always fixing things. I love fixing things and bringing them back to life, but I do love playing the ukulele a lot.
Okay. What is your favourite word in another language? This will be Spanish, no doubt.
Well, yeah, it'd have to be a more love.
Okay. Do you speak another language?
Sí, yo hablo español, no problema, professor.
I love Japanese too.
Un momento.
If you had to change your first name, what would you like to be called?
Well, if my surname was Guy, I'd definitely go for Big. Awesome, but it'd have to be spelled with an O.
I thought you were going to say Lewis.
Lewis.
That'd be good too.
And middle name.
I like that.
Fantastic. Thank you, and well done for your 60 seconds. It was amazing. Fantastic. I was going to ask you one thing, Radio, before you go, and that is, what is your most amazing, memorable moment in your 40-year radio history? What's the best thing?
Boy.
And why is it
There's
tonight?
actually lots.
Sorry?
And why is it tonight?
That's true. There's two that are sort of astounding. One is without doubt awesome, because I got to talk to Captain Eugene Cernan, the last man to walk on the moon. And among many things that he said, life and death and everything that happens, the fact that it was too big to be an astronaut, which, is a thing. So there was a point where he nearly died because he was just too big to get back into the space capsule after doing a spacewalk. And he thought that was the end of him. But it was so cool when we talked about how he drove the Moonmobile. I mean, that is something that you drove the Moonmobile. And I said, and did you drive it kind of cool? He said, yeah, you bet. But one of the most random moments was I was singing the song "Shaking All Over," the Normie Rose song.
Normie Rose, yeah.
And I just got excited. I was just walking down the corridor and I just screamed out, "Shaking all over!" And from around the corner, I heard down, 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 down. Ladies and gentlemen, it was Normie Rowe.
Oh no!
How can that happen?
No way.
That's cool.
That is.
Is he a relation though? That's what I want to know, Peter. Is he your relation?
Well, Well, we all of us rose our relations. We all connected somehow from 1887, which as people in Ballarat, my family came out in the 1800s. So yeah, we're all connected originally. But yeah, no, I always call Normie Ray my uncle. He's not, but
I have a question
Love
for
it.
you, John. Just a quick one, just a very quick question for you. How can you have been in radio for 39.999 years when you don't look a day over 35?
Yeah.
You're a good man, but it wouldn't have hurt to say 21, though, would it, Jason? I mean, would it hurt? I mean, you know, the truth is probably out there, but gee, would it hurt? You are so kind. And may I say, seriously, I've never been in such nicer company. You're all so kind, understanding, amazingly patient with my lack of professionalism when my phone failed, and good looking. Thank you.
Particularly that guy just there, and this one here.
Oh, yeah. Here's the story. Can we do it? About a man named Brady.
Who was bringing up 3 very lovely boys.
the trouble is when you do that, you can't see what you're actually doing or what anyone else is doing. So we
You just got to cover.
yeah.
All directions.
We should have done it with recording.
Just gotta-
would have been.
You need to have faith.
There you go.
I do. I have faith every time I lay down in my bed. It's not going to collapse underneath me.
My problem is I'm
All
not right.
right.
Apart from that, faith is just a word we use because we don't have any facts. I have to be controversial once tonight. Come on.
Yeah, we'll give that one to you,
have
Rowie.
faith.
You need a soundbite.
Yeah, you're a good guy. You all are. Thank you.
Thank you. Look,
Awesome.
the pleasure has been ours. Definitely put a bit of a zip into. I mean, look, it's always good. We talk about all sorts of things, as you know, but it was just good to have a different ingredient. I don't know who we're going to come up with next week, but certainly, mate, you are welcome to come back anytime you feel the need to and yes,
Yeah, do it.
Prime Ministership.
Oh, yes.
Get
Well,
on that
you know-
campaign trail.
It's got my vote.
And
forget
I think
us.
that would be my campaign. Folks, it's not that hard. I think we all know. And, you know, at press conferences, if people said, you know, what are you going to do? I'd say, well, there's a lot of smart people here. What should we do? And they'll shout out the answers. And I'd say, so most of you think this. All right, well, let's do that. Done. See you at the cafe.
I love the way you think it's that simple and easy, and I'm very much like that. I agree entirely. I'm sure it's probably not, but I love the romantic innocence of fixing a problem because it's just so easy and so true and so lovely.
Well, I guess one of the things you'd ask is who actually wants it fixing? It's like there's some things that people say, how are we going to fix this? But we haven't actually asked, does anyone want it fixed? Maybe it's just better if we just don't look at it anymore. It doesn't need to be.
Yeah. Don't know.
Yeah.
Don't know.
We can ponder that for another day.
John, I, for one, would like to say that the radio world is far, far poorer without you on it. It needs people like you. And I think the fact that you're not doing, although you are having some fun on Capital Radio, I have noticed popping up from time to
I
time.
love it. Yeah.
I know.
But you know what it's like,
great
Peter. We love it. It's a love. It's I always said I'd do it for free. I'd do it for nothing, and my wish came true. You got to be careful what you put out there. You really do.
Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
Prayer works, I guess.
Yeah. You see, that's why I reckon sometimes when you don't get what you pray for, maybe somebody's looking after you. Because I could have done with that not happening.
John was a bit worried about how long this podcast goes for, and I said, just relax. You can disappear
It just
anytime
keeps
you
going.
like. And I reckon he'd be going till midnight if he could. That's
We just turn the cameras off when we notice the viewers have just dwindled down. Once it stays at zero for a little while, we go, oh, we better stop.
yeah. I think we're pretty much talking to each other at the moment. With that. It's Dickie Knee without the. Yeah.
Thank you.
Very entertaining. Any closing statements, so you guys? You'd like to say something to John before we bugger off?
Goodbye.
No, I think it's all been said. But from my point of view, it's great having John on. It's always good to put a face to the voice, and a personality to the face. And we really appreciated the fresh view and the humor and yeah, some of the insights you brought, and just a real genuine example of what a person of faith can navigate through the world without all the crap that comes along with it. So yeah, thanks, John.
Yep.
Thank you, Rick.
Yep.
Thank you, Luke. Thank you, Jason.
Yeah,
been amazing. Been a long time listener, first time caller, but it's been great to be able to hang out and have a yarn. And it's
been a pleasure, John.
refreshing. Yeah, pleasure.
Thank you. You're so much nicer than the rest of these guys. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
You're too kind.
So,
Gentlemen, thank you so much. It's been a real delight, real pleasure. And thank you to our lovely audience as well that have viewers that have been watching too. Thank you.
Yep, lots of people involved, which is fantastic. Some new names in that, which is great. Next podcasts on an atheist, a believer, and a pastor walk into a bar next Wednesday, the 10th of July. Can you believe we are in July already? That is unbelievable. So thanks to everyone who listened. Of course, it will be on Facebook. It wasn't live because we do need 100 followers. If you can please jump on there and follow us to get us up to that 100 followers. So then Facebook will say, well done, my good and faithful servant. You can have a live broadcast, but it will be on Facebook, just not live like it is live right now on YouTube and obviously replayed as well. We actually didn't have a name for tonight. We didn't need a name because we had the amazing Jon Lewis, and it's worth mentioning that
Jon Lewis.
John did the entire podcast tonight without the aid of a safety net. I think that's really worthwhile mentioning. He's got leotards on at the moment. We don't want to zoom down and have a look at that, but it was all his own stunts and no safety net, which is just incredible. Your future in the circus is...
Who needs a safety net? I didn't even have power on my telephone.
You went analog.
Yeah. He's got the iPhone 3.
Thank you.
John, thanks so much again, mate. Really appreciate it. It's been absolutely delightful talking to you. We'll see you on the telly. What party, by the way, will you be Prime Minister of? Representing what group? I would imagine you'd be a Labor man, I would have thought.
People's Front of Judea.
What? Sorry?
You know what it's going to be. My party will be the party.
Party.
Yes.
Party.
That's right.
The party that never
And
stops.
everyone's welcome.
So, John,
There will be welcome for all people.
Tamara, thanks, John. You're awesome. And thanks to the awesome regulars. Thank you so much. And Gloria as well. Thank you all. It was amazing. Well, your man is amazing, Gloria. So, consider yourself to be very blessed and lucky to have him a part of your life, as we are.
As Luke would say, as Luke says very, very often, 100%.
100%.
Wow! All right.
So when we do the final farewell now, John, you can stay there and we will all be able to chat, but we won't be on air. So we'll say goodbye and wrap it up and love to have you back anytime, mate. It was fabulous.
Thank you. It's an honor. Thank you.
No worries at all. Thanks, Luke. Thanks, Rich. Thanks, Jay. It's fantastic. Thank you, everyone who was a part of the podcast tonight. Delightful to have your company. Next Wednesday, the 10th, we'll do it again from 8 o'clock. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.